Hey, this is Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to No Chance with Vince McMahon. How you doing, Vince? Just kidding. You are here at the PW Fan. The PW Fan is a pro wrestling podcast created by fans for fans, and we appreciate you joining us for episode 45, our SummerSlam special. Thank you so much. Jeremy's back this week. Happy to have him back. I am your host, the old school wrestling fan, collector, barber, and musician. I got too many hobbies. Talk wrestling, Tim Gilbert, and I am fired up tonight. Let's go, guys.
And I'm your host, the architect of Pro Wrestling Podcast and Funko Pop collector, Andy.
I'm also your host, the no-selling wrestling indie fan and football lover, Jeremy.
Almost forgot my intro there, guys.
Yeah. Stutter McGee over here. So full transparency, we are late on releasing the pod. Guess what happened? I made a stupid error in judgment. We already did.
Why is that?
Well, we already did the whole SummerSlam pod 2 days ago, and I had a VPN running while we were recording. And if you guys know what that is, it's something that changes your IP address. I use it to watch the Orioles, guys. Okay, don't judge me because I can't get their channel that they're on. But so basically, that interfered with the upload.
I don't know if that's a good enough reason.
Nah, I know. We got to do the whole show over again. But I'm fired up. I'm even more fired up than the first time we recorded, so I think it's going to be a good one. Let's go.
And what did we learn from this, Tim?
Don't have a VPN running. Before we get started on the show today, please... please search us on social media at the PW Fan. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter. On YouTube, you can find us by searching the PW Fan, where we have a full backlog of episodes, audio and video. And obviously, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcast if you want to leave us a review. T-shirts on ProWrestlingTees.com. I think that about covers everything, although we did talk this week about maybe getting a new T-shirt design, which I think we are very much in need of that. Let's get an update, get some new colors going. Danny, I don't know if you're listening to this. I know you check it out sometimes. He's my graphic design guy. We'll get some new stuff going. But, Andy, I'm going to pass it over to you, and let's get this. We got SummerSlam to talk about. We got Ric Flair's last match. We got a new FTW champion and more. So let's see what you got, buddy.
Alrighty, let's start with Ric Flair's last match. He teamed up with Andrade to take on Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal at, what was it, StarCast? It was like the StarCast pay-per-view ran by Conrad Thompson.
Yeah, that's who.
Hey, this is Conrad Thompson.
So the match was kind of long. It was maybe a little under half an hour or so. If you saw the training videos with Ric Flair and Jay Lethal, he did not look like that. We assume that he came in maybe a little injured, a little hurt from possibly all the training and whatnot. The guy's 73 years old, all right? I don't know how crazy you thought it would be. It was more nostalgia kind of thing just to see him there and wrestling. You had right in the front row, or maybe second row, according to Mick Foley. You had Undertaker, Bret the Hitman Hart, and Mick Foley, along with Undertaker's wife. And Conrad Thompson was there.
Charlotte was there.
Conrad's wife, who is one of Ric Flair's daughters. Charlotte was there, but was not shown on camera, at least as far as I know. There was a bunch of people probably backstage or in the audience, I think I read.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ric Flair bled in the match.
Of course he did.
He passed out in the middle of a figure four. Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm just gonna tell it to you straight how it happened, what happened. Let's get your guys' thoughts though on it. If you saw it, or what you saw.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like we said before, that it was like people were trashing it because I think they just saw clips of the last probably 5 minutes of it.
It's gonna be amazing. It's not.
Yeah, it's I don't know what they're expecting, but I mean, it's tough to see the Ric Flair put that figure four in, and then he's just out on the mat.
Yeah, it's like a light switch just flipped off, and he was just
yeah, he was out. And the ref counted 1, 2, 3, and I was like, well, that's like a double pinfall then, right?
Yeah,
But
his shoulders were
they
down.
Yeah, they just ignored that part. Yeah, I mean, that's cool to see his last match and that nostalgia part, but I hope he is actually done now. What do you think,
How
Tim?
about you, Tim?
You know what? I'm kind of, in some ways, I was thinking about this earlier today. I am glad that we are re-recording the episode because I've had time for things about this match to settle in a little bit. And so, I pretty much thought when I was a kid that, like, Ric Flair was going to wrestle until he was a very, very old man. So the fact that this is the way that this happened, I am honestly not surprised at all. Now, I do see where people are coming from. Obviously, if he had stopped after the main event or after the WrestleMania match with Shawn Michaels, it would have been the end-all, be-all send-off. I mean, you even had Undertaker kneel down to you at one point in the ring. I see what people are saying. But the fact is, this is Rick's life, and it's Rick's career, and this is what if this is what he wants to do to make himself happy, I support it. Yes, there was some of the match that was scary to watch, but overall, for a guy that's in his mid-70s, I think he did a great job. And we have to be fair here. This actually is not the most uncommon thing that you would think. You've had guys like Terry Funk. You've had guys like Vern Gagne. You've had Jerry Lawler. There's lots of old wrestlers that wrestled way, way, way later than they should have. And yes, Ric Flair did have a health condition, and he did have a near-death experience. But, you know, if this is what makes him happy, and he's the greatest wrestler of all time, then I'm glad that he did what he did, and he seems to feel good about it. I think for being an old man, he put his heart and soul into the match to the point where he did pass out at the end. If you think about it, that's how much effort he gave. Even though it didn't look great to people, he gave that much heart to the point where he passed out in the match. And yeah, it might seem foolish or stupid or whatever, but as a wrestling fan and somebody who like has always respected why these guys do this, yeah, they do it for money. Okay, sure. But you're doing this stuff because you're entertaining people. And I appreciate that very much. And Rick, you're 75 years old. You did a great job, dude. Not that you're ever going to hear this, but I just think it should be said. I think people are being way too harsh on this guy. It's like, people are like, well, you disappointed me. I ordered it. He's 75 years old. What did you think was going to happen? Like, you ordered it. You made that choice to order it. You knew what it was going to be. Come on, let's be real. Like, so, you know, I don't know. I think overall...
And also, it sounded like the rest of the pay-per-view was actually pretty good.
Yeah, and there's a great card. You had the Von Erichs there. There was AEW stars there. There was... I mean, you had a mix of everybody. And it was a great card overall. And at the end, you get to see Ric Flair wrestle for, you know, half hour. It's like... I don't get why people get so bent out of shape about this kind of stuff. And then they'll claim that they care about his health. And I'm like, I don't think that's it. I think you just try to find something to complain about.
Well, I don't know if there's much more, you know, that. I think you pretty much said what you needed to say.
Well, the Twitter thing,
you know,
the tweeter.
I think you said everything.
The tweeter machine gets me angry. I saw something today. You know, Ric Flair, he's an emotional guy. He cries and stuff all the time. He posted this thing today. He said, you know, to be the man, you know, classic Ric Flair. And then at the end, he's like, I really had a good time. I really hope I didn't disappoint you. And literally the first comment is, well, you certainly did. I'm like, dude, just shut up. Like, why?
Oh, like, come on.
I'm like,
it's about expectations, and that guy, whoever said, had him too high.
Yeah.
Well, he thought he was going to see Ric Flair.
Have you seen the guy walk to the ring, even in the WWE?
Yeah, jeez, man. It's a gimmick match. It's the nostalgia. You're going to see Ric Flair do some chops. He'll take a big suplex off the top rope, so everybody will be like, oh, shit, he's old, and he did the big spot. and then he'll do the figure 4, and that's like the modern day old man Ric Flair match, and you knew that that's what you were going to get, so don't get angry about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you wrapped that up perfectly. I think at least here on the podcast, that's exactly how we all feel. So, let's dive into Raw, though.
Well, no, just like and we're gonna get into Raw, and we're gonna get into Raw. I'm just gonna say the only reason I sound heated about it is because it's so annoying. It's like the guy like puts on like a performance as an old man to try to entertain people, and people have the audacity to complain about it, and it's just like, dude, just shut up then. You know what I mean? But anyway, moving on to Raw.
No, I gotcha. Yeah, I wish we could talk about Raw that happened this week, because what a different show, but we'll get into that next time. So yeah, the past Raw before SummerSlam, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Anytime there's a pay-per-view, the Raw and the Smackdowns are like the go-home shows. There's not too much going on. However, with this Raw, it was 20 years of Rey Mysterio, so Rey was out in the ring at some point with Dominic, and, he was thanking some of the superstars that helped shape his career, such as Dean Malenko, Edge, Eddie Guerrero. Trying to think who else were some of his big...
Did he say Kurt?
Big names. That's what I was just thinking that. I'm not 100% sure, because but I'm sure he did.
The match just...
I'm kind of surprised they didn't use like the AEW guys like they did with
Edge.
I just wanted to throw in, like...
What, his first match in WWE was against Kurt?
I don't think it was his... Maybe it was his first singles match. It was at least his first pay-per-view match, 100%. But SummerSlam 2002, if anybody's never seen it...
I think it was his first singles match, but...
Yeah, if anybody's never seen it, SummerSlam 2002
I think it was his first singles match.
Was a great match.
Jumping off the top of the cage.
Yeah.
He debuted by jumping off the top of the cage, but that wasn't he interfered in the match. His first match, I believe, was against Kurt Angle. Fantastic match. I mean, that pay-per-view all the way through was great. So yeah, eventually the Judgment Day attacked Rey and Dominic backstage while they're celebrating with their family. And this helped set up their match that was going to happen at SummerSlam. We also had Seth Rollins taking out Riddle, which caused them to cancel their match. Storyline-wise, Riddle suffered a stinger, and so their match was canceled. They were saying that, Rollins is going to have an opponent, but he ended up not having an opponent at SummerSlam, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But that's about it for Raw. Let's hop into Dynamite. We had a new FTW champion. And unfortunately, no, it's not Danhausen, but Ricky Starks did wrestle Danhausen for the FTW championship. He won.
It was close.
He won. It wasn't a very long match, but Ricky Starks was not satisfied with it. So he tells the locker room, anyone in the back can come out, basically. And, out comes Hook. The crowd pops pretty big. And then we have Hook versus Ricky Starks. And your winner of that match was Hook. He was the new FTW champion. Kind of cool to see because his dad is the one that created the title. Even though it's not an official recognized title, never really has been. But they do defend it on AEW television every once in a while. And Ricky gets on the mic, though, afterwards, and even though he lost, talks about how he made that title mean something. And I thought everything he said was absolutely right. Last time we recorded, Jeremy was saying, he gives off young Rock vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you were talking about.
His promo was like, even this one and the one that before. I think the one before more of just like the comedy Rock with Danhausen, with him doing the Danhausen voice and all that. I thought it was pretty good, but. Yeah, it's like he was a heel, but he can immediately switch to a face in this.
Well, he is a face now because his partner Hobbs attacked him after this promo. So,
and Hobbs laid that hit right on his head too. You heard the thud.
I really like.
But
that was rough.
Looks like the audience is now behind Starks.
I really, and this is kind of the sleeper of this whole segment, but I really like Hobbs. I think they need to do something with him eventually, man. Like, he just has got the look.
Yeah.
Like, there's something there. You got to do something with that.
The
He's a big boy.
He is one big boy.
Well, at
man.
least, yeah. This leaves Team Taz, like all the people involved, in a better place now because Ricky Starks now is face.
He's had the title
Taz,
forever. It's about time he lost it.
Yeah.
He can do other
Yeah. Then
stuff.
Hobbs is
I
like this
do really
big heel
like
now,
Ricky Starks.
so.
Well, obviously they're not. Is Team Taz the thing anymore? That's the thing. That was Team Taz.
Yeah. I don't know what Team Taz is now.
Speaking of Taz,
Maybe they just become
speaking of Taz,
their own singles.
he is my favorite AEW announcer. He was my favorite SmackDown announcer as a kid. He is so good. Like, he is great on commentary.
More than JR?
I love JR, but JR now, he doesn't phone it in because it's not that
salty,
he's salty.
JR.
I mean, yes, he is salty, but I feel like it's not for lack of trying. I think he is trying. I just don't think he can give the vocalization, the oomph that he once did. When he was yelling, Stone Cold, and his voice is all raspy and he's yelling. I just don't think he can give that same energy anymore. But it's not like I think he's being lazy. I just don't think, I don't think his voice has the capability to do it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Taz is great.
I do love Taz as an announcer. I do love Taz announcing. It reminds me of when I was really into wrestling as a kid during the Ruthless Aggression era, when he was the commentator.
He just sounds so right. He sounds so good.
That was kind of my voice of. Yeah, and he knows what he's talking about.
Him and Excalibur. Yeah, him and Excalibur are just fun to listen to too because you can see that they're enjoying it. So
I know we talked about it. I know we briefly touched on it last week, and we'll move right along after this because I know we're on a tangent. But I just wanted to say that I don't know if we mentioned it. The two Ring of Honor announcers on the show that we talked about last week. They are excellent. I really like them. They are really good wrestling announcers. They are
I really like the Ring of Honor announcers.
Legit, and they sound great, and they are serious, and it's not funny. They are just straight up. I like it a lot. It's really good.
Yeah.
Moving right along though, Jungle Boy's been feuding with Christian, and he finally, after coming back, cut himself a promo in the ring, bringing up Christian's recent divorce. He didn't go as hard as Christian has been lately, but that's expected from a babyface, not from a heel, to kind of keep it light. But you still talk this crap. I think we have said this is probably culminating to All Out the beginning of September. I'm sure they'll save it for that. I don't think it's happening at Quake at the Lake.
I hope not, at least.
Stupid name. But yeah, let's just move right along to the main event of that show. Bryan Danielson returned from injury, and he wrestled Daniel Garcia. However, the winner was Daniel Garcia when he put Bryan in a submission, and Bryan didn't tap, but he did pass out.
Yeah, I actually like the ending.
Yeah, so,
like that Daniel Garcia one.
Yeah, I mean, both guys. No one comes out weaker in the end.
Yeah,
Bryan never gave up,
and it was like that trend of having young guys as the stars in this episode, really, for Dynamite, which is kind of cool to see.
But yeah, that wrapped up Dynamite. I know we're trucking along here. We do have a lot of matches to get into when it comes to SummerSlam. SmackDown this week opened with Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus in it was like a shillelagh match or something. I don't think that's what it's called, but that's what the whole point of it was. They were using Irish shillelaghs. And Drew McIntyre defeated Sheamus, and the winner of that match is supposed to face the winner of Roman and Brock from SummerSlam at the Clash at the Castle pay-per-view overseas. So Drew now has a title shot. And the show closed out with, actually...
Oh, real quick for that one, I'll mention what I mentioned when we recorded before about the flag. but I'm just saying it again because I saw that Sheamus actually, or Drew McIntyre actually commented on Twitter. He's like, because the flags were not Irish, they were Ivory Coast with the wrong order.
Yeah, we think that it was like flipped upside down.
Yeah, someone messed it up, but McIntyre posted on Twitter, I think he was like, "Oh, all my toughest opponents come from the Ivory Coast."
At least you can make fun of it. Now, I don't know if I can't remember if the show closed with this or not, but Paul Heyman had a segment where Brock ended up interrupting him. Theory comes out, but, Brock ends up taking Theory out with an F5. And when Theory's out of the ring, Drew McIntyre comes out of nowhere and claymores Theory into oblivion. So, again, with these go-home shows, guys, there's not much to talk about on the WWE regular television.
Hopefully that changes going forward now.
Yeah, because we got to get into, when we talk about SummerSlam, we got to talk about exactly. Trips making a statement, man.
And we will. So, right before that, there's one thing to talk about with Rampage, and that is Wheeler Yuta challenged Chris Jericho to match. If Wheeler wins, he gets Jericho's title shot to Moxley. Storyline-wise, it wouldn't make sense, though, for him to win. He's on the same team as Moxley. He's already the pure ROH pure champion.
Yeah, it'd be a good match, but yeah.
It'd be a good match. We've seen it before, but Wheeler is better now, I think, than the first time they met. At least he's way more over than he was the first time we saw him. But yeah, let's dive right into SummerSlam, guys. Really good opener. We had Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship. Winner was Bianca Belair. Give me your thoughts. I know, Jeremy, you said it was your favorite
match of the night. Yeah, match of the night for me. That was probably the best way they could have opened it. I wouldn't have minded if even this was the main event, but yeah, this is one of the best openers on WWE's pay-per-views, at least. Because I think SummerSlam is probably their best pay-per-view so far this year. We'll see how Triple H does for the rest of the year, but I think this year so far has already beat everything.
How about you, Tim?
I want to say, this is my favorite match on the card, as from a professional wrestling standpoint. That's what I'm a fan of, is professional wrestling. This was my favorite match on the card, and we'll talk about the Logan Paul match, and he did do a very good job. But I just want to say, and I did say it on the first version of the show that we made, that you had a couple of celebrity matches, you had a very good tag match, you had a really fun over the top main event, and a couple more in between. But this, for me, was the best professional wrestling match on the show. They did a great job. Awesome match. Round of applause for those ladies.
I agree. So we talked about Triple H taking over, and this was his first produced pay-per-view or creatively done pay-per-view. Since this pay-per-view has happened, I'll just mention it now instead of mentioning it next week. What did I text you guys? They're not doing such heavy scripted promos anymore.
Right.
What I noticed lately is that they're not really piping in crowd noise as much.
You had mentioned that they were going to call it more in the ring.
The announcing feels a lot looser.
You mentioned that they were going to call it more in the ring.
Yeah, they're calling it more in the ring now. Yep, they're calling it more in the ring now. I'm not sure if they did it at SummerSlam or not, but they definitely did it this past Raw.
And I do want to.
The announcers feel.
I feel like if you're a listener of the show, you're probably a pretty hardcore wrestling fan. But I do know that we do have some listeners that not might be super familiar with insider terms. So what we're referring to when we say calling in the ring is the spots that they do in the match. The spots that they do in the match, the big moves in the match, or the big parts of the match that they want people to remember. Not all of them are big, but when they're calling like a high spot, for instance, that's someone's going to do some high risk maneuver or something off the top rope, blah blah blah. But what we're talking about when we say calling it in the ring, a lot of the times they will talk in the back beforehand about, like, if you were listening to our episode with Bro, some guys are back there and they're talking about, every single detail of their match, where when you're...
They know
Right.
the end goal.
But,
They know the end goal, and it's just in the ring. They figure out
over
how
the
to
years,
get
there's a
and maybe certain
there's a
spots
couple
are
guys
planned
that are
out.
notorious for Diamond Dallas Page and Macho Man Randy Savage like to have every single one of their spots. They knew exactly what they were going to do before they went out. There's even a story of DDP chasing around Chris Benoit a whole arena for a whole day, trying to get him to read this piece of paper that had all the spots, and Chris just kept being like, no, we'll call it when we're out there, and he was like running away from him. So when they call it in the ring, it's basically they're just doing more all on the fly stuff. They know where they're going to go, they know what the finish is, but the moves that happen in between, they're talking to each other mid-match instead of planning everything out choreographed ahead of time. I just wanted to add that in there because sometimes we just say, like, they're going to start doing more spots on the fly. It's like somebody listening might be like, I don't even know what that means,
Well, this is the way it just occurred to me. When you're planning everything out beforehand and you're planning it heavily, what you're doing doesn't always match the audience's reaction. So if you call it in the ring, you can go with the audience.
Right. Well, if you think, like, some people think, like,
might,
oh man, this match is going to be a banger, and then you start doing this stuff, and that crowd in that city or that state or whatever is just like not feeling it. So then you sometimes pivot. You're like, all right, we're not going to do that. Then we'll do this. But it is a big difference, and
if it's heavily planned,
right.
You don't pivot, and it
Right.
is what it is. Yeah, I know we went off there, but
it's just important.
Back to SummerSlam.
It's
Bianca
just important
won.
to add, because I've had a couple listeners that I cut at the shop just say, like, a little bit more detail on what some of these insider terms would be nice to know. So I agree. Not everybody is like a smark like we are.
No, you're right. But Bianca won the match. Her and Becky Lynch shook hands afterwards, and all of a sudden you hear Bayley's music. She returned. God, I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a long time though, from injury. We mentioned it on the first recording, but God, that walkway down to the ring is super long. She gets about halfway down though. And then you hear Dakota Kai's music. Who, if you don't know Dakota Kai, she used to be in NXT, but was released a little while ago, and it looks like Triple H has brought her back. As soon as she meets up with Bayley, though, then you hear Io Shirai's music. Io's been off of NXT TV for a while, but she's super talented. Both ladies are. And it's about time I thought that they got called up. They're more from our favorite era of NXT. They're from the Black and Gold brand. So it's cool to see that they're doing stuff with them. But so Bayley has this new faction, and its name is called Control. So I'm excited to see. What they do. Cool. They were all over TV this past Monday, which I'll get into. But moving on to the next one.
I just wanted to say real quick. I don't know if you guys have Dynamite on, but I just see the effects of Triple H being in control of WWE now. Is that there's a women's match on Dynamite, and it's like 8:45, first hour of the show, and it's been on for like 20 minutes
so far too.
And actually, you're still going.
Yeah,
because it feels like it's already a change.
It is going to be interesting. This is, I think, now things are going to get, because now you don't got. Tony's like a young guy, right? And he has like young, modern ideas, and he's progressive in his booking. And he was going up against a guy who was like, almost 80 years old, who's like basically out of touch with everything. So now I think things will get a little bit more interesting, where you got Triple H isn't a young guy, but he's not an elderly person. Like, he knows enough to know, like, what's up, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's more in
way
touch.
more in touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
As we saw
just
this
like,
past
'cause
Monday.
we just
I
talked
can't
about the
wait
women.
to talk about it next week. But
yeah. I just noticed that because we talked about the women's group debuting, so I was like, oh, this
AEW, though,
feels like a change already.
I mean, he brought back someone that Vince released.
AEW, though, I mean, this is a good match so far.
Yeah.
But you're going to need to put out some serious bangers frequently to be able to compete with WWE's women's division.
I was just texting.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I was just texting my buddy, and he's like, "How's AEW been?" I was like, "Well, I miss seeing on TV CM Punk, Adam Cole, Kenny Omega, MJF." And he's like, "So basically, all the main guys,
all the main guys are gone,
pretty much right now."
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
But let's get into our next match. We had Logan Paul versus The Miz. Logan Paul has a $15 million 3-year contract. That is more than Ronda Rousey. I will say this match, dude's a natural. He's very athletic. He used to amateur wrestle in high school, I believe. The match was good. He did a very, very good job with some cool spots. Of course, you gotta, Miz was in there, and you gotta, give the props to Miz as well for helping this match be good. It takes more than one person to make a good match. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't know how often he's going to wrestle. He was not on Raw this past week. But, I definitely think they are going to bring him around for some of the bigger events, and maybe he just wrestles at the pay-per-views and they just do a storyline every time. I don't know. But
yeah,
even if you don't like him,
I'll
if you saw the match,
I hate how
it
much
was good.
I liked it.
He's done the best celebrity job I've seen.
I hate him, but it was
funny,
good.
Yeah,
Give the man
okay.
his
So
props.
he gets his props. He did a great job. It hurts my soul to say it, but yeah, he did. I guess time will tell. Who knows? Look, maybe in like 4 years from now, I'm like, dude, Logan Paul is sick. I don't know if I'm going to be saying that. I can't picture myself saying that. But, like my wife did have a good point, because I said, oh, I can't believe this guy is going to be so prominent in wrestling now. It like just irks me. And she said, well, at least it's not his brother. And I was like, oh, that is true. It is. At least it's not his brother. His brother is way worse. But yeah, man, he did a good job. I think that this would be a great example of, and if you want to go back on looking of some of Ronda Rousey's early matches, a match where they probably had a lot of stuff figured out in the back beforehand. Now, it doesn't make the execution of what he did any less special. I'm just assuming that where he is in his career, he's probably not calling matches in the ring. But everything that he did, the moves and the way he did them and the frog splash on the table, did a really good job. Like, as much as it bothers me, yeah, he did a good job, man. So props to him. Unfortunately.
And if there is going to be any calling in
the
ring,
Miz
it's
is
going to be the Miz that's calling.
The Miz is the man in that match. The Miz is probably the guy that we should be thanking for the match that it was.
Well, the Miz has that spot. They put him with Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
They put him with Logan Paul twice. Every new guy that comes in, they put with the Miz. It was AJ Styles' first match in WWE.
Well, it was one of them. I think it was Chris Jericho was his first match.
I don't know. They trust him enough. It was Miz. Chris Jericho was his first feud. But
we'll have to go back.
Miz,
I'm an AJ. I'm an AJ aficionado, buddy. We'll have to go back and look at that. Good housekeeping next week. We'll see who was right.
We'll check on that next week and we'll see who won. Yeah.
Andy, we lost your audio.
Yeah, I tried to look it up real quick, but I would have to do some. But let's get to the next match. We'll do it quickly because nothing special. Bobby Lashley versus Theory for the United States Championship. All right. Bobby Lashley wins. It was a Bobby Lashley match. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
He's jacked.
I'm just nothing the dude does. You know, it doesn't do anything for me. He never has. Theory doesn't either. So you put two guys in there that I really don't care too much about.
Which some people.
That's my opinion. You know,
dude. Some people think Theory's like the second coming.
Bobby's entrance.
So I don't get that, but there are people that think he's great. There is a particular
who,
like
there's a particular controversial podcaster that thinks that this man will be a huge star, and I don't disagree with him very often, but I'm not seeing it.
I can only imagine imagine who that is.
Motherfucker. All right. Anyway. Makes it look like a brewer. All right. Anyway.
All right. So after that. All right. So after that, we had a tag team match and no disqualification. The Mysterios versus Judgment Day. Big takeaway from this match was that Edge returned after being betrayed by the Judgment Day. Came out to a Brood entrance. Tim thought he was wearing tights.
Some weird jeans.
Some black pants.
Jeans with a lightning bolt on it.
Martins. And he runs down the long walkway, gives Damian Priest a big boot, goes in the ring, spears Balor, spears Priest. The Mysterios get a double 619 on Balor, and they go home with the win. The win.
Did you
with the win?
Did you guys
go
on with the win? Did you guys see that that picture I sent today in the group chat for the pod that was like Edge, but he looked like the South Park PC police bro? He had like the sunglasses on. Like, dude, are you even PC, bro?
I'm telling you, Edge, like, I know we'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it next week too with the Raw, but on like Raw, he looked so weird. Like, I don't know what his face was happening. Like, his eyes were bugging out.
He's gotta be bummed he cut all of his hair off, right? Like, I'm thinking he's gotta that's gotta bum him out.
Well, he had like the slick back hair when he was in the Judgment Day. It was like shaved on the sides, but
it's Edge, man. Edge. You gotta have your hair.
But it looks like it's
it's like Shawn Michaels bald. It's like
looks like how he did when he whatever. Yeah, he just looks like how he did when he had short hair and he was acting all the time. Or when he came back and they had his throat on the ramp.
Yeah, they made him look like a frail old man.
I don't know who the heel was.
Oh,
that was Edge's character before.
Anyway, our next match was
he was like the guy that would get like, you don't want to paralyze him.
So our next match was another quote unquote celebrity match. It was Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin. Pat McAfee comes out and has this Nashville choir singing Bung Mass Corbin the whole time. Corbin's like, why the hell is there a choir here? Or something like that, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, that was during like his entrance when he like was about to be in the ring, and then he stopped and he was like, why is there a choir singing
this all the time? If you've seen one Pat McAfee match, you've seen them all. You know, he does a good job. Corbin is what made it work. just like his match with
He
Theory,
won with
just like
the
his matches with Adam Cole.
He won with a very weird.
Corbin wasn't.
It
with
was
the,
so he
like,
did.
I forget how he won.
He jumped off the second rope, and then did a kind of like a front kind of like flip maneuver, like a John Cena kind of like awkwardy like thing where he would like put him in that pin, and he like rolled him up until he. It was almost like a Canadian Destroyer, but he like jumped
he tried to do the
farther and like rolled him up, and he like almost didn't make it. I was like, oh
yeah,
God.
I was not expecting.
Yeah, that was. This was probably the sloppiest Pat McAfee match
Worse than the Vince McMahon one. Really?
It's like,
oh, well, that doesn't count.
I saw it with my eyes. It was.
Goddamn.
It was the thing. People don't forget WWE. People don't forget. Take the football at him. God. Stupid. Well, let's get into some actual wrestling. The Usos versus the Street Profits Undisputed Tag Team Championship match. Very good match. Best tag match on the show, even though there was only two. I said this in our first recording. I enjoyed their Money in the Bank match more. I thought it was better, but this was still a very, very good match. You got to see Angelo Dawkins freaking front flip over the ropes, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Didn't even know he could do that. But yes, the Usos pick up the win after, the whole storyline was at Money in the Bank. There was like a controversial win because Montez Ford's shoulder was up. So this, solidified them, the feud. But yes, the Usos retain their titles. What you guys think of the match?
Yeah, kind of how we said, I guess, last recording, but it just wasn't as good as like their first match they had together for the titles. Yeah, it was still a good match. It was just like compared to that, it wasn't. That one was like, I don't know. I would say like that last match they had was a 5-star match, but this one was like 4, which is still really good. But
if I'm being completely honest here, I love both the teams. I would even say, okay, this might be a hot take, but like, if I'm thinking about my favorite tag teams currently in wrestling, I'm not talking takes in the Senate. All right. Anyway, so if I'm like doing current tag teams, I think I'm going FTR number 1, Usos number 2, and then you're gonna,
of course,
in like all kind of the same category, I'm gonna put the Bucks, the Street Profits, and Proud and Powerful. Yeah, I know. That's my hot take. I think that the Usos are a better tag team than the Bucks. It's different. Styles are not the same. But after watching so much of both, I think I like them a lot too. But
what about
I think
like Lucha Bros?
The Usos do that classic tag team style wrestling that I like, where when you have a Lucha Bros match and like the Bucks, it's amazing and you're like, holy shit, they're doing the craziest stuff, but it's almost like its own thing, like it's kind of, because no one can do that like they can, like, so they're like the only people that can do that, besides like other luchadors.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a good match. I'm trying to think of another really good tag team. I mean, the Usos and the New Day used to have great matches. They would put them on the pre-show and steal the show. I mean, but
oh yeah, I remember that.
The booking of New Day is weird right now, so I can't say at the current moment.
Matt Hardy just walked out. He looks
the best
awful.
Tag teams. But no, I agree with that too. Fat Hardy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he's putting on
He's
some
got like
weight.
this weird blue tank top on.
He's also tan for no reason.
Let's go away. So our next segment.
Yeah.
Is it the felt? Is it a felt tank top?
It's not a good look.
Oh no, never mind. His shirts were always like felt, something like weird. They looked like they would just get hot as shit, like you're wearing a short sleeve sweater. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Our next segment in the show was not a match; it was a brawl between Riddle and Seth Rollins, which I think I've read that they're saving this match for Clash at the Castle. You know, it puts matches on the pay-per-view. This was already a pretty big card, and they would have had to take time away from other matches. So I'll get right into that, because speaking of taking time away, we had Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Because the Logan Paul and Miz match went long, and it did go long, but, you know, Logan was in there hanging. They cut this match to about 4 to 5 minutes. The winner was Liv Morgan, and it was a controversial finish. Liv was in the armbar from Ronda, but Ronda's shoulders were down, and the ref counted to 3. And as he's counting, Liv is tapping on one of Ronda's legs, but the ref doesn't see it. So I'm wondering if it's going to get, you know, if they're going to wrestle again at another pay-per-view. But I guess we'll see. There hasn't been a SmackDown since SummerSlam.
I think
So I guess we'll see what exactly happens this week.
I mean, it seems
That's
like
right. And I forgot to mention last time that we
and then
recorded.
also,
I'd be like, oh, yeah. So, yes, afterwards she attacked Liv. She attacked the ref and got quote-unquote fined. One thing I forgot to mention before, at the beginning of this SummerSlam stuff, with the Becky and Bianca match, is Becky injured her shoulder in the match, and she will be out for a couple months. Did we shared that picture?
Oh, it looks so gnarly,
right? Of her shoulder injury. I was wondering when it happened. And I saw the picture. I was like, oh,
it was rough.
Did it pop out of place or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked gnarly.
It's a separate shoulder.
So yeah, Ronda Rousey is now a heel. I think when she came back, she thought she was going to be a heel, and then they just told her to keep smiling and stuff, and she's like, I think she likes being a heel.
She doesn't
better.
like the fans anyways.
So I guess she got what she wanted. But let's get into our main event. A lot went on in this match. It was over the top. It was enjoyable. It was just wild.
It was a very WWE.
Roman came out first. It was for the...
You know, we talk a lot about on the show the differences between pro wrestling and sports entertainment. Yeah, this is the type of stuff
sports entertainment
that I would have been like, oh my god, you know. So it was cool. I liked it.
I mean, I think I would have been out of my seat like the fans there if I was there in person, because some of the stuff they freaking freaked out for. So Roman comes out first, and then Brock comes out. Brock walks a little bit down that walkway, but turns around and gets into this big-ass tractor. And he drives it all the way up into the ring and climbs it, grabs a mic. He's sitting on, I don't know what to call it, but I'm going to call it a scooper, man, all right? Whatever it is.
The scooper.
Sitting on the scooper of the tractor.
You know, the scooper.
The plow.
The plow?
Scooper, the plow.
Yeah.
Technical term. He does his own introduction, though, and then we talked about this before. Tosses the mic to Roman. Roman never breaks eye contact with him. Just catches that thing with ease. Gives Brock a little wink. And I forgot this. I didn't mention it before when we recorded, but after I saw a clip, I think maybe today, I forgot the match started with Brock jumping off of the plow and landing on the reins. Which you never see
very
reminiscent.
Very reminiscent of, I think it was, and you know me, Grandpa's got to tell a story from back in the day. But 2003, I think. Yeah, back when wrestling. Stu Hart comes on. He's like, yeah, back when wrestling was good. Okay. But in 2003, where Brock and him, pronouns, pal. Brock and the Big Show did a stretcher match, and Brock brought a forklift down to the ring and jumped off the top of the forklift and did like a crossbody onto the Big Show. But so it was kind of a throwback to that. It was super cool.
Ah,
yeah, that was
I
a
remember
cool.
the
It was
stretcher
for
match.
me. I was like, oh man, that brings me back. Oh, dude, I don't even remember. I
Was
have
it
it on DVD.
Armageddon?
But yeah, it was a good match. Yeah, no, I have it on. It may have been joking,
VHS.
I think about it hard enough. Maybe can bring both of those young guys into the hard dungeon. Show them a couple of moves. Stretch them out a little bit.
Get you, man. All right. I want to talk about some of the spots in this match. My favorite.
Thank you, Stu.
Brock
Stu will be back for next
F5
week's
Paul
episode.
Heyman through the announce table. Brock F5 Paul Heyman through announce table, and Paul Heyman was out the rest of the match when that happened. I laughed audibly. I thought it was hilarious. There was multiple F5s done, but he could not put Roman down. At one point, Brock hops back into the tractor and starts ramming the ring. Eventually, he uses the scooper to scoop up the ring. He lifts it up, and it's at a big old angle, and Roman rolls down. I said this before. I would be so mad if I was there front row, and now you're just blocking my vision to the entire rest of the match, because that ring did not go down the whole match. That
10 more
ring did
minutes
not go down the
afterwards.
entire
back
time.
when I was
Um,
back when I was running my own
so I don't
promotion
know
in
how they saw
Calgary.
it.
If we had done that in Stampede Wrestling, the fans would have been very upset, and Brett would have let me have it.
I hate you.
But yeah, that was a cool spot. It was just like it was just like a bizarre.
They loved it.
Weird, like I never seen
I mean,
that
it's a
tractor
country
lift
town.
up a
They
ring. I
thought
didn't even
that
know
shit was
rings
awesome.
could lift like that.
But eventually the Usos interfere, of course, and Theory comes out and attempts to cash in like he has been saying for weeks and weeks that he would, but he doesn't get a chance to. He hits Roman with the briefcase, but then I believe Brock takes him down. After multiple attempts, though, to get Brock down, nothing really works, and it takes him getting buried under chairs and stairs and announce table pieces in order to, not be able to get up and get that last man standing 10 count. Roman stands victorious above him, holds up the title. And yeah, that wrapped up the match. Tim believes, and now I'm starting to believe more and more. It might be a long, long time until we see Brock again. What would be the point of bringing him back if it's not for a title shot, and they're not going to do him versus Roman again anytime soon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense.
You need a star that's not Roman Reigns that is big enough now to where is he going to face Lashley? No. He already did that. Is he going to face Goldberg again? No. You don't want to see that again. I mean, let's be honest. Okay, maybe Cody
The only time
when
he ever
Cody's
came back for a match that was a singles match, not for a title,
Cody.
was Dean Ambrose. That's the only time I can think of. Other than that, it's always been for a title.
Yeah, I mean, he had because the match
If he
with
wasn't already the
AJ
champion.
and Balor were both for titles, right?
He was the champion though at the time.
Right. He had a great run. I mean, his last
Balor's was for the championship.
he came back in 2012, which is God so crazy. I remember the night he came back, and John Cena was basically talking about how he had done everything, and
10 years already,
dude, it's been 10 years. So his return from Extreme Rules, he had his first match back at Extreme Rules 2012, where he basically beat the shit out of John Cena and gave him like an elbow for real in the head. And since then, I mean, from ending the Undertaker's streak all the way to now, his return, I mean, has been way crazier than his original WWE career, which only lasted, 2 years or whatever.
When he returned, was he on TV all the time for a while, and then it went to part-time, or was he always kind of part-time?
He was like part-time, but then he would show up, but then like every time he showed up, though, to their credit, it felt
he was
like
always
a big
kind
deal,
of part-time when he came back.
He came back, he beat up Cena. Then he beat up Triple H. And then he like broke Shawn Michaels' arm. And then he did the Taker feud. He had a lot. He had a CM Punk feud. He had he had like in his last 10 years, he's had some really good runs with opponents.
Oh, another match he came back for that wasn't a title match. Him versus Randy Orton when he busted Randy Orton open at SummerSlam.
That was weird. That was a weird match.
Me and Tim were watching that. I remember we were like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah. That's when
Vince grabbed him and said,
Jericho. He's like, "What the fuck was that?"
And then
Vince,
Vince,
Chris
Brock
Jericho
said,
apparently
and
almost fought
Vince
Brock
grabbed him and
backstage
"Fight me or
afterwards.
kiss me" or something.
"Fight me or kiss me." And then Jericho, he said, "Was that a work or was that real?" And then apparently Vince McMahon grabbed Chris Jericho and said, "It was a work, you idiot."
Yeah, Jericho, like I think he recently just talked
Chris
about
Jericho's
that again.
apparently
He was
Jericho-
like,
I mean,
would have
Jericho
bitten
doesn't
Brock's
back
nose
down.
off.
Apparently he's
'Cause he was like,
he
he
has
could have
kind of
beaten me
awkward
up, but I would have bitten his
apparently he's a
nose.
scrappy man. He's only like, and we're all I think around the same height. I'm 5'8" on a lucky day, but like he's not that much taller than us, and he's a little pit bull, man. He'll get in your face even when he knows he's gonna get that ass beat,
I don't know how we got here after wrapping up SummerSlam.
But
That does it, boys.
well,
Also, just
I don't like.
to wrap it up.
I don't know how I feel
I
about
just saw
Edgy
Jungle
Jungle
Boys wearing a shirt that says "Christian is a pussy."
Like Christian's gonna be like edgy. Oh, I'm gonna be edgy, and it just like doesn't work. Fans seem to like it though. Objectively, the AEW fans.
Before we wrap it up, I do want to get your guys' opinion on those crazy Vince McMahon shirts on WWE Shop. If you haven't seen these as a listener,
okay, so they're real.
no, I went to
I couldn't believe that was on
looked up
WWE.
Vince McMahon. They're under
I thought that was
his name.
fake.
I think we should add. I think some of them came out.
I don't even remember
Wow.
what to say, but if you're listening and check,
There's these 3 shirts that basically are all calling Vince McMahon like the devil and evil and like all this stuff. I think that they were made before all this stuff happened. It's just the context of like where it is now. Like it's just like not a good look. Yeah, like it just lines up really bad. But yeah, that wraps up SummerSlam. Sorry for the
They had to
delay,
be.
everybody. We're gonna get this out for you. You should have it out by
hold on.
okay.
Yeah.
I got them in front of me. I'm just gonna say what each one says.
Okay.
You all can look up their own pictures. All right, first one says $1 billion asshole.
Okay.
The next one's a WrestleMania shirt, and it says, "I've never been cool. I don't give a shit about that." And then the last one says, "If people think I'm an asshole," the last one says, "If people think I'm an asshole, congratulations, I am." And it's a red Vince McMahon's face with devil horns.
Yeah, the timing is just not good. I'm not gonna lie, I might need to buy one though before they
Worst timing ever.
they get buried forever. No one will ever see them again. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching.
Sorry for interrupting your wrap up, Tim.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to say thank you all so much for watching, and sorry for the delay. It's Wednesday night as we record. If you're listening to this, it's probably Thursday around midday or afternoon. And we appreciate you all so much. Enjoy. If you watched AEW Dynamite tonight, I hope you enjoyed it. And we will catch you next week. Go enjoy some wrestling. Have a great week. Go watch some old school wrestling. And we will catch you next time. Thank you from the PW Fan. Have a great night.